You did everything right. School, degree, maybe even the job. And now you're 25, staring at the ceiling, thinking, is this it? Not depression exactly. Not burnout. Something vaguer and more unsettling. A suspicion that you've been climbing the right ladder on the wrong building. Viktor Frankl had a clinical name for this, and it's not anxiety. It's existential frustration. And the treatment is nothing like what your therapist probably suggested. Frankl spent years treating patients who had achieved conventional success, good jobs, stable relationships, healthy bodies, and still felt hollow. He noticed that standard psychotherapy kept asking, "What's wrong with you?" when the real question was, "What is your life for?" That shift is everything. The quarter-life crisis is not a disorder. It is a developmental signal demanding a real answer to a real question. This video draws on Frankl's clinical theory of logotherapy alongside developmental psychology research on emerging adulthood. Arnett's landmark work established that the 20s represent a distinct life phase, one characterized by identity exploration and instability. Frankl's framework adds the existential layer, not just who am I, but what am I for? Both questions must be answered for this period to resolve productively. Research on emerging adulthood shows that roughly 75% of people in their 20s report feeling that their life lacks clear direction. This is not pathology. It is a structural feature of a life stage that extends longer than any previous generation has experienced. The problem is not the confusion itself. The problem is treating it with distraction, comparison, or premature commitment, rather than with the question it's actually asking. Frankl was specific about the danger of misdiagnosis. Existential frustration gets treated as anxiety, depression, or simply immaturity. Doctors prescribe medication. Friends say you'll figure it out. The internet sells productivity systems. But none of these address the actual deficit, the absence of a compelling why. When you don't know what your life is for, no amount of optimization, therapy, or distraction resolves the underlying unease. There is a widespread belief that your 20s are supposed to feel uncertain, and that certainty comes automatically with age. Just wait it out. But Frankl observed that passive waiting makes it worse, not better. Meaning is not discovered by waiting. It is discovered through commitment and action. People who treat their quarter-life confusion as a passive phase to endure tend to arrive at 35 with the same emptiness and fewer options. Frankl's logotherapy identified a specific clinical category for this state: existential frustration, the blocking of the human will to meaning. Unlike neurotic anxiety, which has an internal psychological cause, existential frustration has a relational cause, a mismatch between your life as lived and your life as it could be meaningful. This distinction matters clinically. It means the treatment is directional, not just therapeutic. What makes quarter-life frustration so persistent is the gap between external achievement and internal meaning. Frankl's patients often had impressive resumes and genuine accomplishments, but achievement without a unifying why feels incoherent. Studies on purpose and well-being consistently show that life satisfaction correlates more strongly with perceived meaning than with income, achievement, or relationship status. Frankl's own life was the most extreme test case for his theory. He lost his wife, his parents, and his brother in the camps. He arrived with nothing. And yet he later described those years as the period when his sense of purpose became clearest, because suffering stripped away everything except the essential question: what do you still have to live for? The quarter-life crisis is milder, but the question is identical. Frankl's logotherapy offers a specific protocol for existential frustration. It doesn't start with find your passion. That advice is useless when you feel hollow. It starts with a different set of questions designed to bypass the analytical mind and reach the part of you that already knows what matters. These steps are practical, not philosophical. They generate direction through action rather than reflection. The quarter-life crisis resolves when you stop asking, "What do I want from life?" and start asking, "What does life want from me?" Frankl insisted this reversal was fundamental. The first question is a consumer question. Life as something to extract pleasure from. The second is a contributor question. Life as something you are responsible for shaping. That shift from consumer to contributor is where direction begins. Frankl was not a philosopher who lived in abstractions. He built practical exercises into his therapeutic practice. These daily actions are adapted from logotherapeutic technique and require no dramatic life change. They are designed to generate the small wins of meaning that compound over weeks into something recognizable as direction. Start with just one. Commit to it for 2 weeks before evaluating. The most common failure mode in the quarter-life crisis is endless exploration without commitment. You try a little of everything, learn a lot, and feel nothing. Frankl prescribed the opposite. Commit first, reflect after. These if-then rules help you build the habit of action over analysis. Each one is designed to interrupt the paralysis loop and replace it with a small step towards something that could matter. The quarter-life crisis is not immaturity. It is existential frustration, a signal that your will to meaning is blocked. Frankl's answer is not to search harder but to commit sooner. Stop asking what you want from life and start asking what life expects from you. That shift from consumer to contributor, repeated daily, is what moves you from lost to directed. And direction, even imperfect direction, is everything. If this resonated, subscribe. This channel covers Viktor Frankl and logotherapy every week in a way that's actually applicable to your life. Next up, why success feels empty even after you achieve your goals, and the specific psychological mechanism Frankl identified that explains it. It's one of the most counterintuitive insights in all of psychology. Don't miss it.